All right, I know everyone's been talking a lot about, well, I hope they've been talking about the World Series, right?
Any Dodger fans here?
Dodger fans, Boston, no baseball fans? No baseball fans at all?
Boston, Dodgers, yay!
I mean, how about Justin Bieber? Is Justin Bieber a thing anymore?
No.
No, not at all. Am I behind the times?
Who is Justin
I don't know. I heard he was in Huron about a year ago, Gavin Grounds.
Bieber?
He got a coffee or something, yeah. But he did, so I hear, marry Haley Baldwin.
Who's that?
Anybody know Haley Baldwin?
Al Baldwin's daughter.
There you go. There's your answer right there.
How about the Browns? Any Browns fans?
Yeah!
Woo!
Go Browns.
What's going on with the
Go
Browns?
Brownies!
Carlos Hyde. Matthew Stucco, our tech guy. Let's give him a round of applause for everything he does for us. He informed me that Carlos Hyde was traded to the Jaguars. So, but go Browns. I mean, Browns, they've had the best year ever. If anybody's trending, the Cleveland Browns are trending this year. They should be 5 or 6-0. Some don't agree with me, I know, but go Browns. We have the best fans in all of this country for the Browns, the Indians, and Cavaliers. And the last but not least, and the best, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Okay, so
What about something a little more serious?
yeah, a whole lot of, I mean, it's a lot of good things that were trending, and, you know, people are watching it, they're talking about it, whether it be baseball, football. They're sending text messages to their friends about it. Both of these things are really trending right now, and everyone is so into them. I mean, there's a lot more besides what I discussed, obviously, I'm behind the times, but if anybody knows, it's you guys knows what's trending, especially in social media. So while a lot of trends can be lighthearted and fun, like the ones that we just looked at, some trends, they're not so funny. Trends like these can actually be harmful emotionally, physically, even spiritually. So while it might not be the easiest thing to talk about with trends that aren't healthy, I think it's important that we do talk about them. So that's why we're going to talk about some of those things in our new series today called Trending. So today we're going to tackle something that honestly, it's not a fun topic, it's not fun to talk about, and we do a lot of fun stuff here. I mean, we have a lot of games. Is everybody enjoying tonight? Are we doing a good job?
Yeah!
I mean, with the games and the events that we do, and just, I wish I was you guys.
But sometimes we do have to dial it down.
So, and today, you know, we're going to talk about something that's trending right now. It's in youth culture, and today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more serious. And I really believe every single one of you is mature enough to hear and think about what I'm getting ready to say. Today we're talking about self-harm. Something that needs discussed. If you just got super uncomfortable because you or someone you know is involved in self-harm, I want to ask you not to tune me out. If you're hurting yourself, we're here for you. We support you, we won't judge you. And if someone you care about is hurting themselves, I hope you leave here today with some ideas on how you can support them. Some of you may be curious, you've heard about kids hurting themselves and want to understand why they do it. Well, you're in the right place, because we're going to start that conversation today. Some of you might be tempted to tune me out because you feel this doesn't apply to you. And heavy topics make you nervous. Well, that's okay. I encourage you to listen anyway, because you never know how God might want to use you to help someone else in the future.
So to get started, we want to kind of define a little bit of what self-hurting is. And basically, self-hurting, self-harm is people who intentionally injure themselves. Okay? Probably the most common type of self-harm is cutting, where people intentionally cut themselves. But it can also be people who burn themselves, hit themselves, use alcohol, drugs, people who suffer from eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia. All those things can be considered self-harm. For those of you who never heard or struggle with self-harm, it might be kind of difficult to understand why somebody may do that. The majority of students who hurt themselves or harm themselves, they don't do it because they want to feel pain. They actually do it because they want to feel better. They may be dealing with difficult things in their lives or things that are going on in their lives. They self-injure themselves to feel in control of their bodies and minds, to express their feelings and to distract themselves from their other problems. So for an example, let's say any of you have been stung by a bee. You know how much that hurts, right? And right after that, you may be thinking, oh, if I could just make this pain go away. So maybe you stub your toe intentionally just to take the focus off that bee sting. Well, guess what? Your toe's going to hurt for a few seconds, and then it's going to stop hurting, but the bee sting's still going to be there. So maybe you stub your toe again.
So it didn't help?
Did not help.
Did not help at all.
The bee sting is still there. Okay. People who self-harm themselves, that's exactly what they're going through. They're hurting because they're doing these things because something is going on in their lives. Maybe they're feeling lonely, depressed, anxious, and they want to distract themselves from what's going on. So they do a different kind of pain, a pain that they can control. The physical pain of self-harm is a distraction from their emotional pain. And for a little while, they may feel temporary relief from their emotional pain, but you know what? That relief doesn't last. Think about it this way. If you broke your ankle, you could bandage it up and maybe make it feel a little bit better. But that temporary bandaging is not going to last. But the pain from your ankle being broken is going to continue. And you're just going to keep trying to bandage it up, and the pain's still going to be there. It's going to be there until you take care of it and go see a doctor. Emotional pain that self-harmers have is just like that. It returns again and again until they actually deal with it. You know, here's the thing. Cutting and other types of self-harming, it's hard for them to stop. Okay? These people, they go back and again, they do this temporary things, and it's a cycle. It's a very difficult cycle to break through. Their heart hurts from this emotional pain, so they try to hurt their body and make their heart feel better. That temporary thing goes off, and they hurt there again. Self-harm doesn't fix problems. Whatever people are trying to do, escape from there, it'll still be there when those escapes are done. Stress from school, family problems, broken heart, feelings of rejection, loneliness, depression, they don't go away. That emotional pain is still real. So we need a healthy way to deal with the things that we're feeling.
So luckily, the Bible can help us. When it comes to dealing with feelings that may tempt us to harm ourselves, we're going to read a book in the New Testament from Luke, which is one of the 4 books written about Jesus' life here on earth. And in this particular chapter, we're going to read about a Roman commander, a centurion, who had a servant at his home who was suffering badly from a sickness that he was almost to the point of death. And I lost it. But because the commander cared so much about his servant, he wanted to get his servant help. So he sent some people to ask Jesus to heal his friend. Now here's a verse in the Bible from Luke. Jesus was not far from the house when the centurion sent friends to say to him, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed." So the commander couldn't bring himself to meet Jesus face to face, even though he wanted his servant healed. Something was going on inside the commander's mind that made him think he wasn't good enough. He couldn't face Jesus to ask for help. So, and he thought he wasn't worthy of Jesus' offering for help. But here's how the story ends. Then the men who had been sent to the house and found the servant well. And that's in Luke chapter 7, verses 10. And what I loved about Jesus' response here, that he's all in. Just like when we had LeBron and all the fans were all in for the Cleveland Cavs. You know, we got that championship, thank goodness. So anyway, even when the Roman commander was too anxious or secure to see him in person, Jesus stepped in. Jesus showed up. And Jesus wants to do the same thing in our lives as well. Even when we feel that we're not worthy of Jesus' help, He helps us anyway, even when we feel insecure, anxious, ashamed to ask him for help. Jesus helps anyway. Even when we're at our lowest points, Jesus helps. Why does Jesus help? Because to Jesus, we are worthy. In the book of Psalms, we're reassured of this. The Lord hears his people. Remember this, kids, so let me repeat that. The Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from all their troubles. That means that no matter what, Jesus thinks everyone is worthy of his love and its own. Maybe you're having a really hard time right now, and you've harmed yourself, or you're thinking about doing it. And maybe you're too ashamed to talk to someone you trust about what's going on. Or maybe you have a friend that's hurting themselves. You have a friend that's hurting themselves to ease the emotional pain in their life. And no matter what the situation, Jesus thinks everyone is worthy, no matter what. So when we pray and ask him for him to give us space, peace, healing, and comfort, he'll show up.
Yes, he will.
And we don't have to go through it alone. What I also love about the story from the Bible is that it was filled with friends. I mean, the servant sent his people to help the commander, or the commander sent his people to help the servant. And they stepped in to help one another. Friends who go to Jesus on each other's behalf and ask him to get involved. And every time we ask Jesus to get involved, he does. It may be not how we want it all the time, but he gets involved. And it's the right way. Why? Because Jesus believes we are worthy of his love no matter what.
So maybe you know somebody who is struggling with self-harm. Okay. So we want to give you a few steps to kind of think about and to help this person. So the first step is be a friend. Okay. A lot of people who struggle with self-harm also deal with shame and loneliness. So just being there for your friend can help them out, and it goes a long way. Ask how they're feeling, how are they doing. Let them know that you're going to listen to them when they talk. And be compassionate. Be careful that you don't judge them. You just want to be there to talk to them. And that they can be safe in talking to you. Second of all, don't try to fix it. Okay? It can be really scary to watch someone that you know harm themselves. And you might feel some pressure to solve their situation. But you don't have to know how to do that. You don't have to have all the answers.
Just being there helps a ton.
That's right. You don't need perfect words or know exactly how to help you get your friend through this situation. Just tell them that you care about them. Tell them that you can be there for them. And that they feel safe to share this with you. Number 3, go to God. Probably simple as saying. In the book of Luke that Mike just read, we read about people who went to Jesus on a friend's behalf. And you can do this too. Pray for your friend. Pray about their self-harming and ask God to give them strength and healing to get through. And then encourage your friend to do the same. Number 4, talk to a trusted adult. Okay? Encourage your friend to talk to an adult. Encourage them to find help and guidance. Offer to go with them if they need them. Okay? If your friend is in danger and you know about it, it's okay for you to go talk to an adult as well. Okay? Just to get that advice on how to help. You know, Jesus believes you are worthy of help no matter what. And that goes for somebody who actually might be harming yourselves. Okay? You may not think you're worth loving or helping, but you are. You are God's child. You are loved, adored, created in his image for a life full of purpose. And you can start seeing yourself through that lens by taking these 3 steps. Number 1, if you are self-harming about it, don't go through it alone. There are people in your life who are willing to help you. Moms, dads, aunts, uncles, friends, relatives, teachers, counselors, small group leaders, youth pastors.
Yeah, we think you're amazing, so.
We are here to help you. Find just one safe adult you can trust and take that first step. towards solving that pain. Be honest with them, what's going on. I know that might be a risky move for some of you, but we're there to help you. We want to help because we believe that you are worthy, and that we don't want you to go through this alone. Number 2, stay connected. A lot of people who self-harm themselves, they isolate themselves, they stay hidden from others. So if you're struggling with self-harm, be intentional with staying connected with the people.
Get out of your room, get off the computer, right? Don't be alone.
Get off the computer, stay away, get outside. Do one thing that you to stay connected with people. Okay. Text a small group leader, babysit, hang out with your parents in the living room, invite a friend over, go for a walk with maybe a brother and sister or a close friend. You don't have to open up to these people when you talk to them, but just come out of that isolation and be around someone who cares about you. It can go a long way in helping you. Number 3, go to God. Ask God to give you the courage to seek help. Ask God to help you understand what it is you are actually feeling. And ask God to draw near to you, because He promises He will.
So as we close today, I want to remind you of this. Jesus believes we are worthy of love and help, no matter what. So I know we covered a lot today, and it's a really big conversation. It's a huge conversation to start. But just know that if you need help, or if you have a friend who needs help, we want to offer our support. We can't help if we don't know. And we want to help. So not to get you or your friends in trouble, we want to point you or your friend towards Jesus for help and healing. We want to help because we know that everyone is worthy of God's love. And He does think we are worthy. We deserve that from Him. So as you head to small group today, here's a question I want you to think about. And guys, really, seriously, whether this affects you or not, just think about this. And besides self-harm, who's one trusted person in my life, in your life, you or I can turn to for help? That one trusted person, that's something to think about as we head to small groups.
We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. When we get back, we'll meet in our small groups. 6th grade boys here, 7th grade boys there, 8th grade boys in the corner. The girls, you'll meet with your small group leaders in the section. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Or however you guys do it, you guys get